Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen is here with a new guilty plea. And Eric, this just came down this afternoon.
Right, we're talking about Abdi Wahab Mohammed. He was part of a group accused of stealing more than 17 million taxpayer dollars.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is endorsing Senator Omar Fateh, his biggest endorsement so far.
Fateh continues to deny questions about any ethical missteps, including when he fast-tracked a housing bill without disclosing his wife's alleged business ties to the project.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's me here, back again with another great video. I know you're all ready to get caught up with all the latest breaking in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and just now, right after No King's Day protests. I'm just keeping it real and raw for you guys, and we're diving deep, like always, into some wild Minnesota drama today in this video. So buckle up, folks. We've got Omar backing Omar. Yeah, you heard that right. Both Omars are tangled up in that Feeding Our Future scandal, a straight up $250 million fraud scheme, $250 million that's got Minneapolis shaking its head. There's some seriously shady business behind their names, and we're going to unpack it all right now and right here in this video. I appreciate y'all tuning in, so go ahead, smash that like button and subscribe. You know what helps us so we can keep dropping these stories every single day, and it keeps you in the loop with real talk, no fluff, and no clickbait. Just the facts here, folks, and the bottom line. Now, let's get to the main event. Y'all see her on your screen, don't you? Yeah, that's right. That's Ilhan Omar, your girl out here looking like she's feeding folks at Safari Restaurant. But wait a minute, hold up. Don't let the optics fool you, folks. That spot was tied to the massive $250 million fraud scheme that rocked Minnesota. Yeah, you heard me right. $250 million, $250 million. The fallout from that mess is still hitting, and I'm going to give you all the latest breaking news and the scoop on what's good, or rather, what's not so good. Do you think she'd still be out here breaking the law the way that she does if Sharia law was enforced? And then we got Omar Fateh in the mix. Folks, this dude was all in on keeping that Feeding Our Future scheme alive. And that was basically like his full-time job. And when folks tried to pull the plug, Fateh was basically like, nah, bruh, we're feeding our future. Let's keep it rolling for Allah. But let's be real, folks, because we all know what they were really doing was siphoning off millions and just straight up robbing and stealing from the system. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of nonsense that's what we're talking about today. And let me know if you think it needs to stop. Just type "end it" in the chat for me. But we're going to break down the latest updates on this whole saga. So you guys know exactly what's going on, what's happening. But wait, it gets wilder. And check this out. Ilhan Omar is now throwing her support behind Omar Fateh. Yeah. You got one Omar who was pushing this $250 million fraud, and another Omar who also is knee deep in promoting that same scam. Allegedly. So now you got to be kidding me, right? These two, they're out there linking up, talking about building a better Minneapolis, a better Minnesota. But wait, what? Can somebody tell me how you're going to team up for the greater good when both of y'all I've got ties to this shady business? So like I said, folks, we're going to dig deep into that alliance and what it really means for the city and for the state, for our country, really, if you think about it. But wait, there's more. We're also going to shine a light on some of the connections these two have with other convicted fraudsters from this whole Feeding Our Future mess. There's a massive web of ties here, and I'm pulling back the curtain to show you how it all links up, how it works. Plus, we're taking a closer look at Omar Fateh's past, and there's some discrepancies and irregularities that they're raising eyebrows. Because I tell you what, this ain't his first rodeo with sketchy vibes, and we're going to lay out the details so you can see the full picture. This is the Minnesota fraud saga. Continued. Part 2, y'all. And we're following up on my last video, connecting the dots and bringing you the unfiltered truth. We're talking fraud, we're talking connections, and we're talking about what's really going down in Minneapolis. So without any more delays, let's dive right into the thick of it. Stick with me, folks, because we're going places and because I'm going to break it all down for you guys right now, right here in this video. All right, y'all, let's hit pause for a second because this matters and it's really important. We talk a lot on this channel about taking control of your life, making smart choices, and not letting the system overwhelm you. But when it comes to navigating Medicare, it can feel like you're wading through a swamp of total confusion. Plans, coverage, costs, deadlines, you name it. And that's where Chapter steps in. They're not just another company. They're the real deal when it comes to free Medicare help. Chapter's team of advisors has helped thousands of people across the country find the right Medicare plan, and they do it with one goal in mind, putting you first. No fees, no pressure, just honest guidance to make sure you're covered without breaking the bank. Big insurance companies have their own agendas, but Chapter's got your back, fighting to get you the plan that works for you. So if you're approaching Medicare age or helping a loved one figure it out, don't go it alone. Call Chapter today at 270-467-2426 and start getting the clarity you deserve. Because at the end of the day, protecting your health and your wallet, well, that's not just smart. It's living life on your terms.
New developments came in this afternoon in the Feeding Our Future fraud investigation.
Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen is here with a new guilty plea. And Eric, this just came down this afternoon.
Right, we're talking about Abdi Wahab Mohammed. He was part of a group accused of stealing more than 17 million taxpayer dollars. A judge threw Mohammed in jail this week after prosecutors accused him of witness tampering ahead of his trial. They say he confronted a co-defendant at the Mall of America and made her promise not to testify against him. Jury selection at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis was supposed to start next week. Now, today, Mohammed pleaded guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering, all of it connected to false claims that he helped feed thousands of children a day during the pandemic. Mohammed was the final holdout in his group of 8 defendants who also took plea deals. Eric Rasmussen, 5 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Eric, thank you for the update.
And so you see there's this witness tampering, there's this juror bribery, all kinds of stuff happening with this $250 million fraud scheme. And you know that there's 2 people who helped this whole thing move forward, continue going forward, where you're looking at somebody right here on your screen who's feeding our future. Don't you want to feed the future people, folks? Don't you want to feed them? All right, I'm just playing, but I need to insert a disclaimer that it's sarcasm because I know some folks take it out of context to get it twisted. It's a joke. We are not in favor of either Omar. Trust me. I mean, but you do, don't you? I mean, you want to feed the future. And if so, then theoretically, Ilhan Omar is on your side. And so is Omar Fateh, because they both come out strongly and prominently, not only in favor of feeding our future, but also in favor of the scheme that defrauded Minnesotans over $250 million. And now Omar is endorsing Omar. Isn't that crazy? Ironic? Let's take a look.
With weeks to go until Minneapolis elects a mayor, a major announcement. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is endorsing Senator Omar Fateh, his biggest endorsement so far. Here is Esme Murphy with our exclusive story.
Well, I'm excited to announce that I will be supporting Senator Fateh for the mayor of the city of Minneapolis.
Our Congresswoman, who I'm really excited to have her support.
And with that, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar put her stamp of approval on a grateful State Senator Omar Fateh, who envisions a city that is more equal.
Minneapolis seems to be a tale of two cities, one for the wealthy and the well-connected, and the rest of everyone else.
The Congresswoman believes the 35-year-old senator, a Democratic socialist, can lead with a progressive agenda.
I have trust in the senator's track record that he will find a way to make sure that we have ordinances, legislation that is passing through that speaks to the desires and the needs of the residents of the city.
Fateh's run has not been entirely smooth. He is being accused of campaign violations for continuing to use the term DFL endorsed on his campaign signs. The state DFL rescinded the endorsement after convention irregularities surfaced and declined to make an endorsement of anyone else. Fateh says he is benefiting from a backlash.
People stop me and they tell me that we're really hurt and upset by what happened with the DFL taking back the endorsement.
Fateh continues to deny questions about any ethical missteps, including when he fast-tracked a housing bill without disclosing his wife's alleged business ties to the project.
It was not a finance bill. It was not to benefit my wife or anyone. It was a program integrity bill.
Representative Omar knows both Senator Fateh and Mayor Fry well. She says it's Fateh who is best suited to bring the warring factions at City Hall together. Fateh points to his work on expanding access to opioid detection strips, free college for low-income students, and a deal to keep Uber and Lyft drivers in the Twin Cities as examples of how he can work with different sides. For Jacob Fry, not getting a Representative Omar endorsement is nothing new. He's won the mayor's race twice without it. With photojournalists Louis Carpel and Nick Luneman, Esme Murphy, WCCO News.
One of Ilhan Omar's closest associates went down as a result of this feeding our future fraud that we talked about. And we're gonna talk more about that. We're gonna get to that in just a second here. But if you noticed in that report, they asked Omar Fateh, and they asked him some questions. And basically they were like, what about when you passed that law that helped your wife's business? And, we've seen so many underhanded, shady activities going on with politicians and corrupt officials hiring family and leasing property from family and basically funneling money over there to them. And so he's like, nah, man, that wasn't me. I mean, well, sort of, because, all of this, and he's like, this happened and that happened. And so now you may be thinking to yourself, well, Kevin.
So you might be like, well, what is that about, Fateh?
Well, lucky for you, we have the report on that. Let's take a look.
Tonight, new questions about politics, ethics, and a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. A KARE 11 investigation into Minnesota's troubled housing stabilization program, already exposed for widespread fraud, now reveals an unexpected connection to candidate and state senator Omar Fateh. Lou Raguse is here now with details. Lou?
And Julie, right up front, I want to be clear. We found no evidence of billing fraud here. However, we did discover something raising what a legal expert labels serious ethical concerns. Senator Omar Fateh's wife was a listed owner of a housing stabilization company, even as the senator and current Minneapolis mayoral candidate himself was pushing legislation to fast-track client approvals for the taxpayer-funded program.
Senator Fateh, Senate File 2741.
A bill that will address a critical delay in access to housing stabilization services, also known as HSS.
It's March 24th, 2025, and Senator Omar Fateh is the sole author of a bill he says will speed up access for people to be approved for HSS, a Medicaid-funded program to help the elderly and disabled find and maintain housing.
HSS is a lifeline.
A lifeline moving too slow, the senator says, because at DHS, there was a months-long enrollment backlog as the agency was overwhelmed by the number of people being signed up.
Delays that are putting people at risk of eviction, extended homelessness, and service lapses.
What was not known at the time was that Senator Fateh had an undisclosed tie to the HSS industry.
Does this raise any red flags?
It raises lots of red flags.
Political science professor David Schultz has taught ethics for 25 years. He says what raises red flags is that Senator Fateh's wife, Keltoum Mohammed, was a founder and owner of Community Development Services, LLC, an HSS company.
This is a situation where I think almost anybody schooled in, government ethics 101 would know that you can't introduce legislation that benefits yourself.
Fateh's campaign staff says his wife no longer owned the company, which had not started billing Medicaid when he introduced the legislation. They point to this handwritten note in Secretary of State records dated April of 2024 that states Keltoum Mohammed is no longer associated with the company. However, a Secretary of State spokesperson tells KARE 11 this document does not remove someone from a company. And more than a year later, just 4 days after KARE 11's investigation exposed allegations of widespread fraud in the HSS program, this record, listing the senator's wife as a current owner of Community Development Services, LLC, was filed with DHS. The record, electronically signed by her and dated May 5th, 2025, transferred full ownership of the HSS company to her business partner, meaning she still was, on paper at least, officially an owner when her husband introduced that bill.
That's pretty powerful evidence that somebody still is involved with an organization.
Senator Fateh declined KARE 11's interview request and has not directly answered questions. However, he posted to social media last week criticizing the Star Tribune, who appears to have contacted him researching the same story, writing, "It's about manufacturing a scandal when there is none," and insinuates wrongdoing when it's clear there was none.
Omar Fateh is passing laws that directly benefit his wife, which also benefits him since they're married. He won his Democratic endorsement through alleged shenanigans, and despite the endorsement being retracted due to voting irregularities, he continued to promote himself as the endorsed candidate. Then we have Ilhan Omar, who, along with Fateh, promoted the massive Feeding Our Future fraud in their city. Issues like immigration fraud, autism fraud, and Medicaid fraud are prevalent. And I did promise to show you how one of Ilhan Omar's close associates was caught in the Feeding Our Future fraud. Guhad Hassai Saeed, a former aide to Representative Ilhan Omar, and I'm probably butchering these names, folks, but he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering in connection with the federal child nutrition program. And prosecutors allege Saeed participated in the scheme to falsify meal counts to illegally obtain government funds, profiting from aid meant for children. This guilty plea is part of the broader Feeding Our Future investigation. Ilhan Omar, in her official capacity as a representative, promoted this $250 million fraud, and today we see how one of her staffers pleaded guilty. And prosecutors allege Saeed and others submitted inflated meal counts and falsified paperwork to claim federal child nutrition program reimbursements. And acting U.S. Attorney Joseph H. Thompson stated that Saeed purported to operate a federal child nutrition program site under the name Advanced Youth Athletic Development. Saeed incorporated the company on February 26, 2021, and listed its registered office at a residential apartment unit in Central Avenue Lofts, Northeast Minneapolis, which, this is very, very close to Ilhan Omar. Omar is endorsing Fateh for mayor, but he's running against the current mayor, Frey, and both Omar and Fateh are linked to the Feeding Our Future fraud and have faced allegations of misconduct. Now, however you feel about Frey, feel free to share in the comment sections. But when it comes to Fateh running and Omar's ties and connections. Well, look, folks, they haven't been arrested. Okay. So, however, there is that. They haven't been charged and they haven't been convicted. So these are just reports in the news that I'm sharing with you guys. And all of this is allegedly. With the election less than a month away, what do you think, or better yet, who do you think Fateh will win, or will Frey prevail and win re-election? Will these scandals derail Fateh despite Ilhan Omar's endorsement? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, in the chat. And before you comment, hit that share button and share this video via email, text, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, throughout all of your favorite mediums and platforms. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It helps out a lot. And for help with your Medicare, check out the description for free resources to our friends at Chapter. The number's on the screen. You can give them a call, 270-467-2426. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. That next video coming up, I can assure you, is one you're not going to want to miss, as we just talked about this yesterday. It was yesterday. Yeah, we just talked about this yesterday. And here we now have, and we see breaking, CNBC just confirmed Walmart will now accept Ethereum and crypto payments through OnePay Cash integrated with Coinbase. Ladies and gentlemen, this is massive, huge news. $86 billion Coinbase CEO said Bitcoin and crypto market structure bill is about to pass. Quote, I've never been more bullish. Just in, Samson Mouse says time is running out to buy Bitcoin at low prices. And once we get to 500K Bitcoin, the world is going to wake up and join the race. And that's when Bitcoin goes to 1 million and beyond very quickly. And this is coming from CoinDesk Media. And I actually asked for some help and some assistance again from my buddy Keith D and what he thought about Tom Lee saying Bitcoin or BTC is going to 250K in the next 70 days. And if that plays out, we're about to see a face melting risk on rally into year end. I'll share that, his response with you, the latest. And we'll close out with our Vice President, JD Vance, which should give you some indication as to where we are headed in a very, very short period of time, folks.
The consistent fear that I hear is that there's still this perception that digital assets are not welcome in the mainstream economy. And let me promise you that our effort to change the policy is purely about changing that. We want our fellow Americans to know that crypto and digital assets, and particularly Bitcoin, are part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay.